So, Anthony, obviously it's great news and exciting for MMA fans that you have joined PFL. What drives you most, and why did you decide this organization?
What drives me most for the decision to join the PFL?
Yeah.
A couple of decisions going into that. 2020 was a crazy year for everybody, with the coronavirus, with not knowing if there were going to be fights. And then me, I was coming off a loss entering 2020. So like there was a lot of doubt when what was next for me in my career, my life, and in my businesses, everything. And then I was introduced to a sports psychologist that kind of just helped me navigate through last year and make myself slow everything down, and that's what I did in the UFC. I fought in May against Cowboy Cerrone, and then I didn't fight again until December. So it was a big break between my fights, which wasn't like usually like me. I usually have fights every 2 months, but I decided to go fight for my to become a free agent. Just to fight my UFC contract out and decide what was next. And the PFL approached me with an amazing deal, something I thought was very fair. They approached it as a partnership and not where it was like, something that as an employee, they're like, as a partnership, we want to build this brand. We want to put you in positions that's going to help you build your brand. They said all the right things. And I think, they're the company that they have behind them is some smart guys that are going to make this organization a household name. So I'm excited to be on the face of that and get people that haven't seen the PFL before to tune in.
I see, and I must admit you kind of lost me because after your last fight, it seemed like you still wanted to compete in UFC. You just called out Tony Ferguson. You talked about dropping down to 155 again, and I wonder what changed. Was there even talks with the UFC about the extension of contract?
They offered me a contract before my last fight, but I knew I was going to fight to free agency and fight my contract out. After that fight, there was so many emotions. After a fight like that, that was my first time getting 2 wins in a long time. So back-to-back wins, I felt like I was progressing, and I felt like I was doing the right things, outside of the cage and in the cage. And the reporters were asking questions about what I wanted next and who I wanted next and where I see my career going. And obviously at that point, PFL wasn't, on the table because I had to go to get some negotiations done first. So a lot of that was just me being emotional and being like, in the moment, I was like, they asked, what fights I would want to look for. 155 was where I was going no matter what, because I was on my way cutting back down to 155. That's why I was able to take a 2-week short notice fight. I was on weight for that fight like Wednesday before the fight. I think I made weight very, very easy. I didn't have to cut weight. So I was definitely on my way back down to 155. And this is 155 is where I'll fight next year. But yeah, I think what changed was the time that I had to settle in and actually see what was out there, see what was next, get some negotiations in, hear some numbers, and and make a decision for the rest of my career.
Okay. Were there even other organizations in these talks, like Bellator 1 or maybe Polish KSW?
Yeah, there was definitely other organizations in this talks, but what the PFL came with the offer they gave me, I thought was very fair, and the way they approached it as a partnership and not not like an employee boss relationship. They were asking me questions that what did I want to do to build my brand? What are my goals? What are things like that made me feel that was the right move. And obviously another huge thing for that was their format, because in the UFC, it's all over the place. Like you might fight in 2 weeks, you might fight in 1 week, you might have to cut down to 145 pounds. And that's all things I've done. And I feel like I was looking for more of a stable home and something that I know where my fights are going to be. I'm guaranteed 3 fights. I got to earn the 4th one, but it's all in 1 year, 12 months. So it's going to be a busy year. Also, I know when I got to cut weight, and I know when my fights are. It's not like living that life of just like, what happens next? And it's a crazy way to live.
Okay, so how long is this current contract? Is this only for this 1 year for now?
2 seasons. 2
seasons. Okay.
2 seasons.
And have you already checked the roster of 155 in PFL?
Well, I know their last year's roster and the year before roster, but they haven't released this new one yet. I'm supposed to get that this week, so I'm not sure if they're adding new guys. But I know the champion. I know some of the big players in the organization. I don't really I never really looked into my opponents like that. My coaches do all that. I don't really try to obsess over who I'm fighting, when I'm fighting, because there's 10 guys and I only got to fight 4 of them. And obviously we have to earn that spot. So I don't want to obsess over one guy and maybe he doesn't even make it to the next show. So for me, it's just taking it one fight at a time this year and doing the performances I know I can do.
Okay, I'm just curious. Do you remember Marcin Held? He's the
I do.
Yeah, you had the chance to train together. I think it was back in 2014, maybe. Yeah.
Yep.
So what do you think about him? Because he will also compete at the same division.
Cool guy, bro. Me and Marcin had some great scraps in the gym. He has great jiu-jitsu, amazing leg locks. Yeah, we had a couple of years of training together, and he was in the UFC also, so I knew him from the UFC. Yeah, a great athlete, and he just had some bad luck over in the UFC, and I know that he's actually one of my friends just texted me like, hey, Marcin's in the lightweight division. You know that? I'm like, yeah, I welcome it.
Okay, talking about bad luck, as you just mentioned, you had these ups and downs, sorry, for a few years, and it was hard to you to get on a winning streak. And I wonder what was going on with this lack of consistency in your career.
The people I'm fighting. So like the guys, the people I choose to fight, I never had a gimme fight, an easy fight, somebody outside the top 10 for that matter. When I went into 170, I fought Wonder Boy, who was number 3 in the world, at 170 pounds. At 145, I fought Charles Oliveira, Max Holloway. At 155, I fought everybody. So I think that's the level of competition that I forced myself to compete at, and that's what I wanted to do. I'm like, if I'm going to be fighting, I'm going to be the best in the world, challenging myself against the best in the world. And it's just, when you're fighting the best in the world, anything can happen. Any bad luck in a training camp, the wrong move in a fight, things happen. And not being there present mentally, mentally, not being in these moments. So I think a combination of all that, and that was kind of where I was like frustrated with myself. Is like, what is going on? I know I have the skill, I know I have the talent, I know I have the will. I'm training super hard. It was just, fighting the best in the world, man. Anything can happen.
Yeah, I can't argue with that. You just said that you started to work with a sport psychologist. It was just last year, right?
Right after January.
You didn't.
Yeah.
Right
after January.
And in the interview with Ariel Helwani, you said that he was offered to you by the UFC. And I wonder, will you still work with the same guy now in PFL?
Yeah, I already set it up. Yeah, so his office is actually right down the block from my house in Vegas. So we already right after this last fight happened, I made sure that was something that I wanted to continue doing. Just the growth that I feel there, not only as a fighter but as a person, man. Like I feel like he opened my mind up to just a better way of living my life. And yeah, I definitely continue that. I encourage all fighters, especially the young and up and coming generations. I wish I did this a long time ago, because it really is a tool that you can use in the octagon or in the cage.
Yeah, and you also said recently that you quit drinking and quit smoking marijuana. And I wonder how long did it last? And do you maybe remember any specific fight that you are sure that this kind of habits affected?
Not even a fight. It's just more of like this roller coaster in and out of training camps. Like when I'm in training camps, I'm very strict. None of that happens. I'm 100% focused. But then it became like this normal culture to be like, all right, I'm out of training camp. I could have a beer here. I could, and especially living in Las Vegas, Nevada, marijuana is like, it's very normal out there. It's like, it's pretty much like drinking out there. You buy it from the store, and it's like a tool to use, I guess, for fighters. You see jiu-jitsu, the jiu-jitsu culture uses it a lot, marijuana for recovery and mindset and all that stuff. So I feel like when I eliminated that, I had some real growth in my, not only my personal life, but my training and my mindset. Like I wasn't getting fat out of training camps. I was staying in shape. I wasn't going through this roller coaster of like in camp, out of camp, in camp, out of camp. And I think for me personally, that was a great decision. And I'm going to stand by that and stick by that. And one of my big goals is to continue that for all 2021.
Okay, it's great to hear. I wonder, what do you think about the PFL format? Because there are, I think, as a fan, pros and cons. And one of the best thing is that you have to seek for finish, right? To get through this bracket, but on the other hand, at least in the regular season, there is a lack of elbows and something like that. So what do you think as a fighter and maybe also as a fan?
Well, as a fan, I think it's going to be easier to follow because, you know, in other organizations, there's fights every weekend, different weight classes, champion versus champion. It's just so hard to like follow the format of unless you pick a specific fighter and you're like, okay, I'm gonna follow this fighter's path or journey. But if you're watching every week, and even for me, it was hard to keep up. There was so many new guys, so many new faces, like it was just all over the place. Whereas this format is a season, you know, like and most fans understand a season: football, basketball, hockey, soccer. Like there's a season that ends with a championship. So I think as a fan, it's going to be a lot easier to follow. As a fighter, it is going to be different to not use my elbows. You know, I don't remember the last time I had a amateur fight was the last time I had, you know, not use my elbows in a fight. Luckily for me, they're not a huge part of my game. You know, elbows, you know, I can throw them, but I'm not known for throwing elbows. So that's going to be definitely something I'm training is like in the clinch, not to be, you know, I'm sorry, I got a phone call. Not to be throwing elbows in the clinches and on the ground for ground and pound. I think that's the biggest time. But yeah, I think the format, I like trying to do finishes. My opportunity in the UFC, most of my fights in the UFC were finishes, and you know, even for the championship belt, you know, first round finish. It pushes you for something, and it's not just a paycheck. You know, I'm looking to put myself in a good position for this tournament. So it's definitely a different mindset when you're approaching these training camps. And my first two preseason fights, I have to get finishes to get a good place bracket in the playoffs. I'm looking to do that. You know, I'm looking to go in there and get these first round finishes or second round finishes and look impressive and make my name, my presence known in the PFL.
Okay, you ended your adventure in the UFC by sending a very emotional letter. I think it was to the fans, to the officials from the UFC. Have you had the opportunity to talk with Dana White after you joined PFL?
I did. Yes. Me and Dana are still good friends, man. I think that relationship would never change. Like he's always been a solid guy by me. He gave me some amazing opportunities. You know, I bought my mother a house, you know, from the UFC, and that's something that I credit to the from my career from the UFC. And it's kind of a chapter in my career, my life that would never be forgotten. You know, being on the cover of a Wheaties box. You know, I've done some amazing things with that company, and I've been there for so long. You know, 12 years. With Zuffa, under the Zuffa banner with WEC and going to the UFC. So, you know, me and Dana have a great relationship. All the guys there, very professional as well. It's a business. I understand that. They helped me build the brand. So it was very, that's why I put that letter out. You know, it was a very cordial, you know, parting. And I think, you know, they wished me the best of luck as well.
Yeah. Speaking of WEC, recently it was 10th anniversary of Showtime Kick. And I wonder, what do you think about the fact that you will probably be remembered more for this kick than even that you were a UFC champion? And do you maybe regret that it didn't finish the fight?
No, because man, honestly, I didn't even know it was gonna land. You know, when I threw it, it was like the end of the 5th round. I'm like, the fight was super close. And I think fans that just see that kick don't understand like how it went down. You know, we were 2 rounds apiece. Last round, his hometown. My first title shot, and then, you know, I pull off that move, and it was amazing. You know, like even when I watch it now, I'm like, man, that's so crazy to even land that kick. I mean, people have tried it, but yet to land it the way I did. And Ben's a tough guy, man. Like Ben's a real tough dude. So I think not knocking him out. I think fans that just watch the kick think I knocked him out. Like a lot of guys are like, oh, it's a crazy knockout. They don't really understand that it wasn't a knockout. But yeah, I think it's part of my story. You know, like when I look back at my career, when I'm done with this sport and I'm done with you know, when I hang my gloves up, when I really hang my gloves up and look back at it, that's one of the biggest parts of my story. You know, it's the Showtime kick, one of the best, you know, moves in mixed martial arts history.
Okay, so just 2 last things from me. The one, obviously, even though you are now PFL fighter, you are still MMA fan, and we are close to one of the biggest fights in lightweight in the UFC. You had the chance to fight Dustin Poirier, and I wonder, what do you think about the outcome of this fight?
I think it's going to be a different fight. I don't think it's going to be a quick knockout or a quick finish. I think, you know, Dustin's not going to let Conor get in his head like he did the first fight. I think he was very emotional. He went in there and tried to like fight Conor. Conor loves that. His counter left, you know, his ability to draw guys out of their shell and try to hit them, and then, you know, hit him with that left hand. Like that's what he's known. That's what he's made his money off of. So I think Dustin's going to be a smarter approach. You know, he's a lot older in the game now, more mature. So I think it's going to be a different fight. But I will say, when you fight somebody that you lost to or that you beat, you have that, like I've had rematches and I just have that, you have that chip, like, yo, I already finished this guy, I already beat him. And I think Conor's going to go in there and look to make another big statement. But I don't think it's going to be a quick knockout like the first fight. But if I had to pick somebody, I would have to go Conor, honestly, just based off of the last fight.